Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. In my book, I would like to introduce the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who left us with the famous quote, "God is dead." First of all, I would like to share content regarding Nietzsche himself, which is well described in Wikipedia. Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche, born on the 15th of October 1844 and deceased on the 25th of August 1900, was a German philosopher, cultural critic, and philologist whose work has exerted a profound influence on modern intellectual history. He began his career as a classical philologist before turning to philosophy. He became the youngest person ever to hold the Chair of Classical Philology at the University of Basel in 1869 at the age of 24. Nietzsche resigned in 1879 due to health problems that plagued him for most of his life. He completed much of his core writing in the following decade. In 1889, at age 45, he suffered a collapse and afterward a complete loss of his mental faculties. He lived his remaining years in the care of his mother until her death in 1897, and then with his sister Elisabeth Förster-Nietzsche. Nietzsche died in 1900. Nietzsche's writings cover many categories such as philosophical polemics, poetry, cultural criticism, and fiction. Prominent elements of his philosophy include his radical critique of truth in favor of perspectivism, a genealogical critique of religion and Christian morality and related theory of master-slave morality, the aesthetic affirmation of life in response to both the death of God and the profound crisis of nihilism, the notion of Apollonian and Dionysian forces, and a characterization of the human subject as the expression of competing wills, collectively understood as the will to power. He also developed influential concepts such as the Übermensch and the doctrine of eternal return. In his later work, he became increasingly preoccupied with the creative powers of the individual to overcome cultural and moral mores in pursuit of new values and aesthetic health. His body of work touched a wide range of topics, including art, philology, history, music, religion, tragedy, culture, and science, and drew inspiration from figures such as Socrates, Zoroaster, Arthur Schopenhauer, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Richard Wagner, and Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. I have mostly quoted this content from Wikipedia.org, and I would like to offer my opinion on Nietzsche's work, which I can categorize into 2 points. First, he truly struggled with the will to survive. Born a genius, he became a professor at the young age of 24, making him the youngest person at the university. However, he couldn't hold the position due to health issues. I believe that he really wanted to overcome his limited human capabilities and had a desire to transcend his physical human condition, which he expressed through his theories and books. In his work, he brought up the Übermensch, superhuman, and the doctrine of eternal return, and I believe this was his powerful, ultimate yearning to overcome human limitations from deep within his unconscious mind. However, I must say there is no such thing as the Übermensch, superhuman. Superhumans only exist in movies. Nevertheless, after his death, he made a tremendous and continuous contribution to shaping a new modern world without God, the Creator. Despite this, we're still trying to overcome the fate of mankind, which is destined to die, as ordained by the Lord, God. Second, he declared, "God is dead." I believe that he tried to understand the cause and reason for the reality that all mankind is inevitably heading towards death. However, instead of surrendering to this fate, he chose to rebel against it. Rather than accept the death sentence by God, he rebelled and, in turn, pronounced death upon God, the Creator. I believe that this was the best course of action for him as a mortal man who couldn't escape his destined fate. In the labyrinth of death, he didn't choose to submit to the Lord, God, the Creator, but instead chose to rebel against the Creator with all his might. But as we all know, God wasn't killed by Nietzsche's sentence. Instead, Nietzsche himself died at the age of 56. Isn't that ironic? I believe that his idea was inevitable given his way of thinking. We humans can be divided into 2 groups based on our response to the reality of death: those who obey and those who rebel. In reality, the power of death consumed him into the grave. Regardless of whether we're an average person, a genius, or a hero, we are all walking the same path. He's still influencing us with his thought, encouraging humankind to try to overcome our destiny with a great will, like a Superman. However, there is no Superman when faced with the power of death.